Hi.
Want to talk about what we were doing today?
Sure. Wet bay, obviously. Right now we're dumping the black tank in preparation for changing out the black tank sensors.
And why are we changing out the black tank sensors?
It's maintenance.
Yeah?
Yeah, after a couple of years, they don't work good.
Okay.
Even the good ones stop working good. If you consider the environment that they're in, where it's kind of shitty. So we're changing the sensors out. When we take them out, you'll get a look at them.
Okay.
First thing, you should have the right tools.
And what makes it the right tool?
This is kind of the right tool.
Okay.
This is a nut driver that's going to fit the nut on the end of the sensor. And this is a really skinny wrench to fit the locking nut behind it and still be able to get it off.
Okay.
This is the first time I've used this. Last time we used a pair of needle nose pliers. It worked okay. Here, the skinny little 3/8 goes underneath, and it's going to hopefully grab the nut underneath. So we have a little trouble locating. There we go. That's going to allow me to take this one off and remove the nut, remove the wire. Now I can loosen this. That nut's all the way out. And then you're going to get in there and pry this out. Make sure your tanks are empty.
And which sensor is that, Mark?
Or a gray water sensor. Doesn't have a hood over it. But you see all the gunk that's on there. That's pretty gunky. I'm going to put a drawing in the video.
Okay.
And I'll do an explanation of how the sensor itself works. I'll probably put that in right here. So we'll take a look at that, and then when you come back to this, it'll make a little more sense. A word about the sensors and how they work. This part here is where the wire was, and that is conductive to the tip. So when the tip gets wet, it sends a signal between the two sensors, and that's what activates your little light that tells you that which sensor is full. We'll go over that in detail on the sensor position. But basically, when you tighten this nut down, it pushes on this rubber, squeezes the rubber, then the rubber part right here is what makes the seal in your tank. This part here is on the inside of the tank. That's just there so that this rubber has something to back against. So the whole thing pushes in, you tighten it up, and it creates the seal, yet it's still conductive from one end to the other. And these are from Hurst. These seem like they work a little bit better than the standard ones that you usually see. So this is the black sensor. You see that the other ones had just a wire. This one has a protective cover over it. So when this goes into the tank, that's setting down this part so that it has like a protective hood over it. That's supposed to keep like toilet paper and solids from sticking to the sensor, which is underneath here. And the way you know when you put it in the tank that it has to be the right way up, on the end of the shaft here, it's got a little indent. It's ground flat, and that corresponds with the flatness of the tube. So when you put it in the tank, you have to make sure that the flat part is facing down. It's not easy to see for an old guy like me, but you can kind of feel it too. But get a light on it and you can see it. This is an old gray sensor. I bent it a little getting it out. That's copper underneath there, and it's just oxidized and probably would conduct when it's not supposed to. But like I said, we're doing maintenance. We're changing these one at a time. So, all right, we're done with the black. You saw the sensors working. We just emptied the tank. Now we're going to do the gray tank. I'll show you the gray tank sensors. These are a little different than the black. If you remember, like minutes ago, this was a black sensor. It's got the plastic hood. This doesn't have it. Why doesn't it have the plastic hood? Because you shouldn't have any toilet paper in your gray tank. If you have toilet paper in your gray tank, you should really probably talk to your children about that and see what they're doing. Or maybe your wife, maybe she doesn't like you. So that's my attempt at humor, toilet humor. I'm getting a lot of that. So that's a gray tank sensor, a replacement one. The originals are just a button, and they work fine until you get a little bit of grease and stuff in the tank. And then the grease sits on the side of the tank and it makes contact between the sensors. This puts the sensor out into the liquid, except instead of up against the tank. So same process as the gray tank. You take the nuts off, take the wire off, replace them one at a time. This is our tank sensor cleaning tool. It's also used for cleaning reusable straws. What we're going to do is just put a 90-degree bend in this. Maybe a little more. And then we're going to stick it in that hole. A little juice on it. Now I'm rotating the brush inside here to get that clean. Might have to make that a little tighter bend to get down here. I do want right around it to be clean.
Maybe a little more juice.
The boss says use more juice. The boss also came out here smelling like red licorice. But the boss didn't bring the helpers any licorice.
Yeah, you cannot eat while you're playing with the tanks, honey.
Oh,
I'm sorry. That's
okay.
just not allowed.
So those are kind of cleaned up. I guess the best thing to do after you get all done with this would be to do a tank flush. Okay, so those are kind of cleaned up. We're going to reinstall them. Basically what is going to happen for the reinstall is this is going to get pushed in the hole. Tighten that up. Remember how that screws against it. You can see it just kind of tightens up. And that's reinstalled. You just have to put the wire on and the other screw. I'm going to go ahead and do the other three. Alright, all the sensors are back in the tank. Push back through the hole. The nut has been put on, or the wires are ready to go on. Put the wires back on.
And how do you know which wire goes where?
This one won't go anywhere, it won't fit anywhere, but there it's too short to go here. This one's too short to go there, this one's too long to go there.
Okay.
Or you could have wrote them down, orange, green, yellow, and red, if you wanted to get kind of fancy, or if you thought that maybe you'd forget it or whatever.
Because each one of those sensors is assigned 1/3, 2/3
Exactly.
full, right?
Yep.
And empty.
Like I just put the nut, I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. I just put the nut on the 1/3 sensor. It reads empty because the only one that's wet is that one. So there's no way for it to conduct from here, from that one to this one. So that one just says that's the empty sensor. In other words, empty means no conductivity. When that one and that one are in the water, it reads 1/3. When that one, this one, and this one are in the water, it reads 2/3. If just this one is conducting to the bottom one, even though the level may not be up here, like if you had a clogged sensor, then it's going to read 2/3 full.
Even though it's not.
Even though it's not. Even if you had, it's the same if you had a bad sensor at the top. It's going to read full all the time, which is what happens to people. Sensor gets dirty and you get bad readings. So this is the system that we have. It's not the best, but after a while you get used to what you're...
You get a feeling for when you need to dump or not, really.
Yeah, we've closed the black tank. All the sensors have been replaced, and now I'm filling the black tank through the tank flush. We're going to go inside, which is kind of highly unrecommended. Hey, this is VoiceOver Mark here. Never leave your black tank flush hooked up unattended. If you forget about it, you could fill your black tank and the overfill is coming out of your toilet. So, not a pleasant thing to have happen. Don't leave it unattended. I'm going to go inside and watch the sensors on the board and see that they light up the way they're supposed to, and then we'll dump the black tank again and it'll be ready for our next trip. And well, we still have the gray tank to do too, so, but we're going to go in and look at the sensors on the black tank. All right, we're back inside. Here's our sensors. Pretty simple. This is the gray, which is at 2/3 now because Beth's doing laundry, trying to get the tank full. This is black, which is saying empty right now because we're filling it. And then our fresh water is empty because it's empty. We like to keep those, we pay attention to the sensors. We don't, that's not the Bible. The Bible is, after 3 days you dump your tanks. After 3 days you better start thinking about where your tanks are. And really, we don't pay too much attention to the sensors, right, Beth?
No, we kind of have a sense of how full they're getting.
A shit sense?
Yeah, but when we're filling up the tanks, we pay attention to how much water we're using when we're washing dishes, doing showers. If we know we're not going to have a full hookup site for 3 or 4 days, we're pretty conservative with our water use. But if we know that we're going to have a full hookup site tomorrow, then I'll do a load of laundry before we move on, so that when we dump, we get rid of the laundry water too. So it really depends on the situation of where we are and where we're going and how long have we not had a dump station or full hookups available.
Yeah, and how many showers did you take? And in addition, we have the sensors here that are fairly accurate. You kind of keep track of them. Like we had a sensor for a while that was reading 1/3 all the time. So we knew to ignore it, but then we had to watch it a little closer when it got to
2/3. Then we knew, oh, wait a minute, now
something's
it's getting fuller.
happening.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that was our black tank was always at 1/3 for the longest time, even at when we dumped it. So.
Yeah, until we put the new sensor in.
Yeah, and that fixed it. And then for a while, the gray water tank was, it would say 1/3, but it wouldn't say 2/3 for a while. And then, so then we'd have to watch it too, you know.
Right, so I guess,
It would get stuck at 1/3.
so what are we saying?
The sensors are not reliable. But you kind of have to know how long has it been since you dumped, and use that too.
In addition to using the
using
sensor.
the sensors.
So the water's running in the black tank. There we go. 1/3 is working. So we'll just wait till it pops up to 2/3, and I think that'd be enough. We'll assume that full is working.
You don't want to. You don't want to.
We could run it right up to it. You want to run it right up to it?
I don't know. It's a little scary.
Let's keep an eye on it. We'll see. Okay. If toilet stuff grosses you out, you shouldn't have an RV to start with, but just a little warning. I'm going to show you the tank is now full, and I'm going to put a little water in the toilet. And then when I flush it, you're going to see the bubble from the air not having anywhere to go. This is a good indication. If your sensor isn't working, you know that your toilet's full or your black tank. Did you kind of see that bubble? It was kind of quick.
Do it again.
Watch for the bubble. I'll slow it down in slow motion. And then if you shut the water off in your toilet, you look down, you can see the water level in there. I mean, that tank is full. So let's go look at our sensor. Now, while I was filling up the black tank, Beth went out, emptied the gray tank. So it's reading empty right now. And here's the black tank reading full. So we're going to go dump that and change the gray tank. All the gray tank sensors are changed. Would you say it took 5 minutes?
Maybe 10 total.
I've done it before, so it was a little easier. Everything's easier the second or third time you do it. So yeah, don't be afraid to try this. It isn't that hard to do. And if you're worried about your tank sensors all the time, you know, it's what makes a trip worse is you don't know whether the tank's full or not.
Always worrying about it.
We have to dump tomorrow or the next day. It's worse than trying to figure out whether your batteries are getting charged. So it really, total time here,
An hour.
an hour. We're actually at our home base. We rented this campsite today just to flush the tanks and to change the sensors.
And
It's
we
a lot
also
easier than doing that.
we
And-
also sanitized our fresh water. So
and we sanitized our fresh water tank too. Not for the winter. We're getting ready to go. So,
Yeah.
This on a lake. We're going to be heading out to California, so we figured we got all the maintenance stuff done, and we should have an eventful-less trip. Knock on fiberglass. So gray tanks are done. Again, Beth said it took about an hour. We'll probably fill these up just to make sure that at least 2/3 of the tank is showing up, and that'll be it.
you want to talk about the water?
Hang on 1 second, and let me finish cleaning up here, and then we're going to show you one more item in the wet bay. I have to go wash my hands though. So. It's my title.
Is that your favorite towel?
That's my title and my favorite towel. I leave it hanging here just for that, because basically that's what you got in here. It's just a shit show. What we're going to do now, since we're messing around, and here's our new water filter. This is the old one. These are super easy to change. You have to make sure the water isn't on, first of all. So we're going to shut our water off. Then we're going to relieve some pressure. Now our holding tank right now is empty, so we probably shouldn't get a lot of water out of here, but we might. Some of you may be wondering why they gave you this. That's for your water filter. I washed my hands. I did not wash my tools, but we're supposed to put a little lube on here. I found that just a little bit of water works fine. And what we're going to do, we get this ready to go. This little wrench fits on here. You turn it to loosen it. Just crack it open. You notice I only turned it about an 1/8 turn. And we're going to take this out. If you look, there's usually crap in here. So you want to get rid of that. Take your new filter.
Which way does it go in?
This goes up.
Okay.
You want to put that in there and rotate it. You kind of got to feel and make sure that it's going in. You'll be able to tell. It goes up. Like here right now, I'm not really happy with that. So what I'm going to do is check it. It looked a little crooked. You can do it like that if you can get it to stay there. Make sure your gasket's good too. There's a couple of gaskets on this type. I don't know what kind you got, but that's this one. We change this, what?
Once every
Once
6
a year,
months.
twice a year. Something
Twice
like
a year.
that. When it depends, folks, because look at the old filter, Beth. It looks kind of grody, but they say that they're still good, even though they look bad. For me, I'm going to be using that water. It's worth the investment of a little bit for the filter. They're not that expensive. Okay, let's turn the water on.
Oh, that's
Now,
cool.
usually, when you turn if we use the water again, this will drop down, it'll come up, it'll drop down, it'll come up, until it gets air out of the system. And then you're good to go. So that's changing the water filter. Best way to do it, I think, is to make sure that your tank is dry. We just sanitized our whole tank. We haven't put water in it yet. And this is a new filter. So now we're going to run water through it with the new filter, not the old filter. Just
Fresh water, fresh filters. And we don't actually drink this water anyway.
Usually not. I will on occasion. Usually we're using our Berkey water.
Yeah.
So our water comes filtered through here in the Berkey, gets filtered again, and then you make coffee.
Yes.
So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. We're going to be traveling, and we're up and down the road. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs up anyway, because, you know,
You might like the next
you
one.
might like the next one. You never know. And we'll see you up and down the road.